Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are wading into some really fascinating material. It challenges pretty much everything we think we know about biology, consciousness, and, well, the cycle of life itself. We're talking about animal souls.
It's a truly unique set of sources for us because we have two things here. On one hand, we've compiled a whole series of claims from these investigative hypnosis sessions about how animal consciousness works. And on the other hand,
We have a critical analysis of that exact method. How reliable is it?
so that's our mission today. We're going to immerse ourselves in these pretty extraordinary metaphysical claims. We're talking pet reincarnation, alien-engineered dolphins, all of it.
Right. And then critically, we're going to filter it all through the methodology's own, its own skepticism.
Exactly. So just to be clear, we are starting squarely on the subliminal and esoteric plane. You might want to hold on to your assumptions for this one.
Let's just jump right in. The first major finding really concerns the base state of animal consciousness. According to these sessions, it's not really individual. Not individual at all.
Not primarily. It's described as almost universally collective. It's strongly tied to the species or the race. Think of it as one vast group consciousness.
That feels so different from the human experience, which is all about separation, ego, me.
Yeah.
So if the default is the group, how does individuality even happen? Do we ever see an animal that seems like a truly distinct being?
We do, but it's more of an emergence. It's not the starting point. The sources indicate that certain animals can develop a stronger sense of self, kind of rising out of the group.
And these would be the ones we'd recognize.
Exactly. The alpha males, matriarchs, pack leaders, they still have that deep connection to the species, but they're the ones with a clearer self-perception, a nascent ego, if you will.
So it's not just a collection of, say, millions of individual wolves. It's more like a single vibrating wolf consciousness that sometimes expresses itself more strongly through a leader.
Precisely. And if you zoom out even further, the sources talk about a separate collective field that's formed by all terrestrial animals.
All of them.
All of them. And it's seen as this distinct, unified realm, totally disconnected from how a normal human perceives reality.
What's so wild here is just the scope of that connection. This animal collective is described as, what, a continuous cycle.
A unified cycle of life, yeah. It's linked not just to other animals, but even to, like, plant life. To nature itself. It's just one unbroken loop.
And we, as humans, are where in this picture?
We're the separated observers. Our consciousness is generally seen as external, looking in on this unified animal world. We just don't have that inherent fundamental connection.
Unless there must be a way in.
Well, the sources do note that some humans, through really deep emotional bonds, can start to vibrate with it.
That emotional bond is the perfect bridge. Let's talk about reincarnation and karmic connections.
Yeah.
Does that bond mean an animal can carry, emotional weight from one life to another?
It absolutely does. The sessions found that genuine metaphysical relationships, you could call it karmic baggage, can exist between specific humans and their pets.
Creating a kind of shared path.
A shared anemic path, that's the term they use. The two souls are effectively running on parallel tracks of experience.
You hear this all the time. People who are absolutely convinced their new puppy is the same soul as the dog they lost. Is there any validation for that here?
There is, but with a really important condition. Animals are subject to reincarnation, but it seems to be conditional on that strong emotional connection. That tight bond with a human is what often triggers the need for the animal to return. The link basically ensures the relationship will pop up again in another life.
It's like an agreement to continue the journey together.
An unconscious one sometimes, but yes, an agreement.
Okay, so this is where it gets, I think, the most astonishing claim in the whole stack of sources. It just completely flips the script on any kind of spiritual hierarchy. We are told that a human subliminal part, like a piece of a human soul, can actually choose to incarnate as an animal.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
Why? What is the motivation for a human soul to do that?
It's a choice for a radical experience. The sources say the main reason is to bypass rational thought entirely and just experience life through pure instinct.
A spiritual sabbatical.
That's a great way to put it. It's about prioritizing raw, primal instinct over the often messy human intellect.
And this isn't just theory, right? The sources give a very specific, detailed case study to back this up.
They do. The example is of a former gatto, that's Italian for cat, that evolved and then fused with a human consciousness group.
And incarnated as a man.
As a man named Giorgio, and this isn't a metaphor, it's presented as a literal energetic pathway.
So what did Giorgio inherit from his past life as a cat consciousness. It can't just be a love of naps.
No, the traits are very physical and instinctual. He's described as being physically agile, sinuous, very sporty, and crucially, he has heightened senses.
Hearing.
Smell and hearing, yes.
Wow.
Far beyond the average human. But the key trait, the one that really speaks to the why of it all, is his sexual instinct.
How so?
It's described as being much stronger, more natural, a fast, powerful impulse. His whole life experience is sort of skewed towards that purely instinctual drive. It demonstrates the exact reason that human fragment chose the animal path to begin with.
To fully integrate that primal energy, that is just, it's fascinating. The idea that consciousness is so fluid, it would deliberately seek out an instinctual filter.
It really changes the hierarchy. It's less of a ladder and more of a circle.
Let's pivot from that to species-level evolution. Are there any specific animal groups that are cited as having a more, let's say, evolved group consciousness than others?
Yes, the sources point to three main groups, all mammals: dolphins, wolves, and bears. They're identified as having a significantly more advanced collective state, more sensitivity, more perception.
And why them? Is it just normal evolution, or is something else going on that gives them this higher vibration?
Well, the initial difference is described as being in their DNA. It literally allows them to vibrate at different levels. But this is where the conversation takes a turn toward the cosmological.
I have a feeling I know where this is going.
For large aquatic mammals, especially dolphins and whales, the source material claims that some of their DNA has been deliberately manipulated.
By who?
Or outright created by external non-terrestrial races.
Wait, alien intervention.
Yeah.
In dolphin DNA. Let's slow down on that one. What was the purpose of this huge genetic experiment?
The claim is that this manipulation resulted in their ability to perceive these subtle vibrations, which leads to their enhanced senses and what we might call telepathy or, high-level dialogue among them.
So the idea was to create a sophisticated, high-level consciousness here on Earth.
That's what's suggested.
Okay, if these entities are manipulating advanced species like dolphins, are they also interested in the animals we live with? Our dogs, our cats?
Absolutely. The sources find that animals, both domestic and wild, are interfered with all the time. It's described as being very common.
Who are the usual suspects? Give us the rogues gallery.
The ones named most often are insectoids, reptiloids, and sometimes entities just referred to as light entities.
And how does it work? What's the mechanism of this interference?
It's essentially a possession that affects the animal's energetic or mental body.
Okay, so if my dog is, let's say, possessed, is the goal just to inhabit a dog's body, or is it a means to an end?
It's the means to an end. The possession of the animal's mental body is a vector. It's used specifically to connect with and interfere with the human that the animal has a relationship with.
Through the emotional bond.
Exactly. It gives them backdoor access to the human's mental body.
Which brings up a really interesting paradox, doesn't it, given what we said earlier? The sources stress that animal souls, on their own, have more freedom, a much less traumatic view of life and death than we do.
Yes, completely. Animals see death and reincarnation as a natural, seamless thing. They don't have the trauma or the existential dread that burdens so many humans.
But, and this is the paradox,
Yeah.
the moment they form that tight bond with a human, they lose some of that freedom.
They do. The very connection that lets them potentially evolve individually, like Giorgio, also opens them up to all the vulnerabilities and interferences of the human condition.
The fear, the complexity, the manipulation.
It's a trade-off. They gain a certain depth, but they lose that protective metaphysical simplicity.
So we've covered some truly paradigm-shattering claims here. Human souls choosing to be cats, alien gene splicing, reptiloid pet possession. Now we have to shift gears. We have to apply the reality check that's provided by the critical source material itself. And this is arguably the most important part of this whole deep dive.
It absolutely is. This is the critical filter. The second source dives into the reliability of investigative hypnosis, and it stresses one thing above all else: the extremely high percentage of contamination.
Contamination. Distortion of the information.
A massive amount.
How bad are we talking? Is it like 50-50?
It's far worse than that. The contamination rate is described as just overwhelmingly high. Think about it. When information is retrieved, it has to pass through so many filters. It travels across densities, through other consciousnesses that might distort it.
And then it's filtered through the hypnotized person's own mind. Their beliefs, their culture, everything.
Precisely. The analogy they use is like trying to have a conference call underwater where everyone's speaking a different language. There's just so much noise.
That's a perfect analogy. So any single piece of data is by default Suspect.
Highly suspect.
So given this massive contamination problem, what's the standard?
Yeah.
What does it take for any of these claims we've just discussed, even Giorgio the Catman, to be considered reliable within this framework?
They have a brutally strict metric, the 2 to 3% rule.
2 to 3%.
Reliable information is only extracted when the exact same data point shows up consistently across a vast number of sessions. We're talking thousands of sessions with different people, different operators.
Thousands of independent confirmations just to get to 2 or 3% reliability. So that means pretty much everything we just discussed,
Exactly.
unless it's met that standard, is statistically uncertain.
Exactly. The source material explicitly says that 97% or more of all data gathered in single sessions is spazzatura.
Which is?
Italian for trash. It's highly suggestive, but it is not reliable fact.
That's an incredibly harsh self-assessment. If the vast majority of the data is just trash, why even do it? What's the real purpose of these sessions then?
The purpose is purely clinical. It's not about writing an encyclopedia. The information acts as a vehicle of movement. It's a navigational tool.
A tool for what?
To diagnose and immediately address a client's problem on the energetic plane. If a client is being interfered with, the session gives the operator enough context, even if it's contaminated context, to target and remove that interference. It's a diagnostic map, not a factual textbook.
Okay, so this deep dive has presented this powerful tension that you, the listener, really have to hold in your mind. We've explored this complex, often shocking metaphysical framework. But at the same time, we have to view all of it through the lens the methodology itself provides.
Right. The information is highly suggestive. It provides a fascinating structure for reality, but it's statistically uncertain until it's been massively corroborated.
That synthesis really is the key takeaway here. You've gotten an insight into a complex esoteric viewpoint, but also a critical lesson in how to source information.
Especially when you're dealing with abstract, hidden realities, extreme caution is warranted, and consensus across diverse sources becomes the only real measure of certainty.
So what does this all mean for you? We started with the idea that animal consciousness is inherently simpler, more free, and less traumatized by life and death than we are. If that primal freedom is their natural state, consider this final provocative thought. Is the powerful emotional connection they form with us, a human connection, ultimately the catalyst for both an animal's capacity for individual soul evolution and its exposure to the fear, the chaos, and the interference that defines the trauma of the human condition?